Well, for more insights into the troubles plaguing the Eurozone, let's talk with Leon Perera of Spire Research and Consulting. Leon joins us from our studio in downtown Singapore. Leon, Moody's has changed the outlook for Europe's top-rated economies, Germany, Luxembourg and Netherlands, to negative. Is a ratings cut likely, do you think?
Good morning, Patrick. I think a ratings cut is inevitable at some point. It's coming from the recognition that these northern European economies are going to have to contribute to some bailout of the situation in Spain. So given this outlook change, I think a ratings cut at some point pretty soon is fairly inevitable for these northern European economies.
So the other question, a full sovereign bailout for Spain, is that just a matter of time now?
I think sovereign bailout of Spain by the European Union is certainly a matter of time. I think the markets have shown conclusively that they do not accept the scenario that Spain can actually pull itself out of this mess alone, generate enough tax revenues and growth and so on. And I think that there are two triggers for that. The first trigger is really the situation of the Spanish banks, which are tottering. They've accepted European rescue loans, and they are the main buyers of Spanish government debt right now, so they are tottering. The other situation is the Spanish regions, Valencia, of course, asking for emergency funding. So this is both worsening, and this makes it inevitable that there will be some form of European bailout for Spain.
So is it the debt market pressuring Spain to seek a bailout now that Spanish bond yields have hit their highest level since the euro was created in 2002?
I think the debt markets are sending that signal. I don't think it's a concerted attempt among traders or so on, but it is a signal, and it is having the effect that Spain will have to seek this kind of European bailout as a result of that pressure. And I think we are getting closer to the moment when Europe is really going to have to come to grips with the fact that it has to intervene and it has to come in and buy up some of the Spanish government debt, perhaps through the issuance of Eurobonds.
Okay, Greece's troika of international creditors arrive in Athens today. Will the country meet its commitments? And if not, will it be shown the exit door?
I don't think we will have a scenario where Samaras, the leader of Greece, actually digs in his heels and negotiation breaks down and Greece is expelled. That's not in the nature of these negotiations. What we're seeing, I think, is some brinkmanship. Samaras is asking for a renegotiation of the bailout terms that was expected even before the election that brought him to power in June. He has a bit more leeway for that renegotiation with the election of Hollande in France. I think that they will play this game of brinkmanship and they will pull back from the brink at the last minute and reach a compromise. Samaras, after all, is a mainstream, respected politician. He has been a finance minister before. He's an economist by training. He's not from a fringe or extremist party. So I don't see, at least the next few weeks, events leading to an expulsion of Greece. There will be some compromise.
Risks of the economic outlook into the Eurozone sovereign situation are stacked on the downside. Do you see a significant probability of a rate cut by the ECB within the next 3 months?
I think there's a very high probability of a rate cut by the ECB. They're under tremendous pressure. What's changed really is the Spanish situation, which is worsening. The size of Spain's debt, of course, is of a different order of magnitude from that of Greece. That's the first thing. The second thing is the tremendous international pressure, not just of the G20, but also from the IMF. The IMF has explicitly called for more action by the ECB. So we're probably looking at about 25 basis points cut in the next few months.
And how low will the euro go against the US dollar now that the debt crisis is worsening?
Well, the euro has stayed above 1.2. In any conceivable worst-case scenario, I don't expect it to go below the level of 1.15 over the next few months. The reason being that we're not really looking at an imminent breakup of the European Union, a collapse of GDP. We're looking at a long, hard slog. So certainly not below 1.15 to the US dollar.
Let's talk about the US. Second quarter GDP data is out this Friday. Is the economy growing dangerously slow enough that it stalls?
The economy is certainly very, very bad. It's being dragged down by consumer sentiment. We've had 3 consecutive months of negative consumer spending data. We haven't seen that since 2008. However, I don't think the economy will stall to the extent that it goes back into recession. There are only 2 possible triggers for recession right now. One would be a collapse in terms of the US management of their deficit. If Congress can't agree, there will be automatic budget spending cuts being triggered and a restoration of tax cuts. The other trigger might be a worsening in the European situation, a drastic worsening. And I think that both those scenarios, we're really some ways away from both of them. So we are seeing a weakening, a weakening of the U.S. economy, but certainly not a plunge back into recession anytime soon.
Last question then. Even China's huffing and puffing right now. Do you see an investment-led recovery in the second half of this year?
I do see an investment-led recovery. They are struggling because of the manufacturing situation and exports to Europe. But this is a politically sensitive year when there is a leadership transition, a Communist Party Congress. In that context, I think the government, true to form, will kick in, and they will focus more this time, I think, on fiscal stimulus rather than monetary stimulus, bringing forward investment projects and so on to bring about a government investment-led recovery in the second half of this year.
Okay, thank you very much indeed for your insights, Leon. Leon Perera of Spire Research and Consulting.